Hi, welcome to Well Read, a program about a little bit of this and a little bit of that at your Ames Public Library. The art of conversation, talking, vocabulary, where does that all come from? Does it start when we're very, very young, or do we have to wait until we're in school to learn all those words that we need to know? With me today, I have someone that can answer some of those questions. Craig, welcome to Well Read.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having me on, Jerry.
Not a problem. It's my pleasure. So let's tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Like, why are you here, and what the library has to do with your course of study?
Sure. So I'm a PhD student at Iowa State University in literacy education. I work with Dr. Connie Beecher, who is the primary investigator on the study portion of the smalltalk program. And we are a collaborative, smalltalk. It's a collaborative of ISU Extension, Iowa State, the Ames Public Library, of course, and then Raising Readers in Story County, our early and school literacy-based program that you know pretty well.
And I have to add to the Ames Friends, or Ames
Yes.
Public Library Friends Foundation also
course.
has played a very important part of the money part of their generous donation and that coordinating the money and helping us out that way too.
Yes.
So these entities that you are talking about, Raising Readers in Story County and the library, of course, have been here in the library longer than most, longer than both of us.
Yeah.
But the collaboration with Iowa State and Dr. Beecher and yourself, how did that come about?
Sure. So Carolyn Johns, who was instrumental in bringing Raising Readers to this community, found some funding for a really neat program and sort of asked the community and community members that have been doing this work for a long time, like yourself, what kind of program would be beneficial for our community. And it was kind of serendipitous because Connie Beecher was a brand new faculty at Iowa State, and she had done some research with the Lena device and knew about this new program they were piloting. We did not pirate. Piloting.
We were pirating some things too.
Well, we've helped change it, and we've been instrumental in that too, but I'll talk a little bit about that later. But piloting this new program using a device they've used for a long time for more basic research, and then they started using it for applied. So that was at first called the Smarter, Happier Baby Program, and now it's called Lena Start. But Ames was one of the first 5 communities in the whole United States to offer this program. And alongside with ISU, we helped to evaluate it through our first 2 years here. So I've been working with this program for, I think, 2.5, and you've been around 3.
Since the start.
Yeah, it's almost 3 years now. And
I went back to the original training several years ago, and now they've, as you pointed out this morning, it had the wrong logo and stuff. They've developed those types of things and have developed the recorder a little bit better, and the process and the training. So we've kind of dropped the name of Lena Start. So I am very sure that our public doesn't really know what that is. So Lena Start was, how did it begin?
Sure. So Lena Start is this program that we provide. It's a 13-week program here at the library. But just a little background is the Lena Foundation, which is a nonprofit research foundation in Boulder, Colorado, developed this device, which is called a Lena Digital Language Processor. And now Lena stands for Language Environment Analysis, so that's where they get their name. And what they used this device for was for children and professionals that worked with children with specific language impairments, or SLI, and speech and language pathologists. So this little device has gone through maybe 10 or 15 years of research and development at this point, to a point where it's about 98% accurate in terms of counting the number of words that it hears. So if a child's wearing it in a specially designed vest like we have here, when you record for 16 hours with the device, it will accurately count 98% of the words that are spoken to the child who's wearing that device. So let's say you put it through this digital language processor in the system, and then you hand code that recording. If there was 10,000 words, it'd be between 9,800 and probably 10,200. So that's how close it would be to actually counting those. And so we use it in our class to let parents know exactly how much they're talking and having conversations with their young children.
So it records not only words, but the background noise of like music and television and that type of thing.
Yes.
As well as what we call conversation turns from the child and an adult. So one of the concerns that I heard in the very, very beginning is, well, I don't want this recording what I'm talking to my child with. Tell us a little bit about that privacy that really doesn't really happen.
Yes, so it actually is impossible to listen to the recordings. They are uploaded to our hub machine, which is secured by password and in a secured room. And then it is transcribed by algorithms and data mining through sophisticated software, and then that recording is deleted. So it's not possible for anybody to listen to it. It's just quantified in terms of the amount of electronic time, the amount of words said to the child, and the amount of conversational turns, which are either the parent or the adult speaks and the child responds within 5 seconds, or vice versa. So,
which is fascinating to me that, you know, there is that pause that we have to take in order to have, and that reaction of that child back to us. And it's true in adult conversation as well.
yes.
But that child can respond no matter if they're a baby, all the way through adult, like I said, adulthood.
Mhm.
So, and so how the adult does this and the child does this is they take this home, and how many days do they record?
Sure. So they do a recording each week, and it's a 13-week program. So at the end, they'll usually have around 12 recordings because they don't do one before the first week, of course. But it's okay if they miss a few classes, because we do know that parents with young children are very busy and susceptible to young illnesses, and, you know, in Ames here, maybe some weather, which might happen as we're having our September through December class here coming up. But they do one daily recording each week. They bring their device back, we process it, and we give them a new one. And so they get to see those scores on a report each week when they learn about different things within the class. So they have a parent guide as well.
Is that for you?
Yeah, and they have these talking tips here that we use throughout the whole program.
And it's also in Spanish.
Yes, yes. The classes, the presentations can also be done in Spanish. Ours have primarily been done in English, but we are thinking about perhaps having a Spanish-based class in Marshalltown.
So I have this little green spot, and I know that it's kind of special for our parents. What's that all about?
Sure. So we always tell them to put this up in a visible place so they can see those, but also can celebrate their awards and successes. So if they increase the amount they talk and the amount of conversations they have, they get stars each week. which they can put in that spot. And actually parents, like you said, get very excited about their
They
stars.
love their rewards.
Yes.
You wouldn't think a little 5-pointed star would be that important, but it sure is.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to parenting. There's a lot of hard times, but a lot of good times, but you don't often get patted on the back for
Right.
things you do every day. So it's kind of this program's way of just telling parents they're doing a great job, and something they can see and celebrate with not only their other classmates, but anybody who sees that in their home.
So you have referred to some classes and talking about parenting. I know when I was a young parent, the joke was that no one gave me a manual in order to raise my children correctly.
Yes.
So this isn't a manual necessarily to raise your children correctly, but it is some fabulous types of opportunities to learn how you can enhance what you're already doing in your home to help with literacy. Can you tell a little bit about that?
Sure, and so I think you're right on. We leverage the parents' strengths, and we think that the parents are the child's best and first teacher. So we're just trying to give them little nudges and little ideas of things that they can do in times like waiting in line at the doctor's office or grocery shopping. Just little nudges and ideas of things to do during those, so that it's not just waiting time, but it's a teachable moment in which they're teaching vocabulary, they're teaching the conventions of conversation, and they're just sharing information about their life and talking about the different things that they're going to do. So talking about the future and planning and different things like that are actually, we have evidence in child development that talking about the future or talking about shapes and things are actually early predictors of science and math achievement as well. So not only is this important for literacy, but also for other aspects of development as well.
Correct. Well, and also successful communities and successful lives of our children, so they can graduate and go on as well. Because like you said, we can, in child development, we know it goes all the way back to that 0 to 3, which is kind of crazy, because again, I'll refer to when I was a young parent just a couple years ago, and that when we didn't even think about those things. School started at kindergarten, and in some places it didn't even start at kindergarten. It was first grade. So
Yeah.
this is kind of wild and crazy for some people to think about, because one, parents don't have any training, so how can they be teachers? That's an argument I've heard, which I totally disagree with. That parents are wonderful teachers, and to kind of mold that into great conversations with your child and giving them that opportunity to interact is. So this parenting class and these downloading our information, I know the first couple years have been some research that's gone on with what our families have done. So tell me how many cohorts we've had, or how many classes that we've had,
Sure.
and then what kind of things have we learned from that research?
Absolutely. So we've had, we kind of like to separate it into two main groups. First of all, one was we used to have an 8-session class with 8 voluntary sessions called graduate sessions. That was our Smarter, Happier Baby, which was about 50 families through 4 classes. So we generally have a class from around 10 to 15 families. And in Lena Start, which is the new iteration, which is a 13-week class, we've had around 150 families. And that has been probably 12 classes. And we've had successful classes in 2 other communities as well as Ames. So Marshalltown has had 2 classes of their own, and Boone has had a class, and they're both looking to do it again this fall, which we're very excited about. But the results are great. So in our first cohort, we found Families grew in their talk and their conversations over the 8 weeks to their children. And we don't know the exact number. That is great. We just know more is better. And so growth is what we look for. We're not comparing it to any sample or any number. You know, we're not saying 50% achieve this number. We're just looking across time, did they grow over where they started? And generally we see a nice curve where they grow substantially over the course of the program. Parents also increase quite substantially in the amount, their knowledge of child development, which is shown to be a powerful predictor in both the child's development and even something like the percentage of child abuse. So if parents are more knowledgeable about developmental milestones and appropriate ways to diffuse behaviors and things like that, it's correlated with a whole host of positive outcomes for children. And then most interestingly, in an 8-week period, the children in the class actually grow greater than expected, much greater than expected in their language ability. So we measure using a self-report measure that the parents fill out how the child's language is developing. And in a 2-month period, they usually grow 4 to 6 months. Wow. So we're seeing that, we saw that in our first cohort, and all those findings have been replicated in that second group of a larger sample of about 150 families. So we've been sharing that research around the country, and we're preparing some papers to be published with those findings as well.
This just makes me giddy because way back when I first started here in Ames was when I found the Hart and Risley studies, the vocabulary, and all those wonderful findings that they did. And by the way, they did it all by hand, right? Not electronically. I can't even imagine that happening.
Hand. Those poor graduate students.
But it just makes me giddy that we are part of a similar study like that, and here in Ames, Iowa. And then I wouldn't be a good librarian if I didn't say too that because we're having the classes here at the library, we are also developing a good habit for these families. They're attending the library at least once a week, some of them more than that, but at least once a week to attend the program and to learn all these fabulous things that, and again, it's more of an enhancement of what they're already doing. We're not teaching anything new per se.
Nope.
We're just reinforcing what they're already doing, which is fabulous. So like I say to Dr. Beecher all the time, thank you so much for being part of our Ames community and part of the Iowa State community. And I can't tell you how excited I am about this.
Well,
it is just exciting.
You've been an amazing partner too.
And our families very much thank you as well. So you out there in our audience land of Ames community, I have a challenge for you. Craig talked about that 5-second, 6-second type of waiting time for those conversation turns. I challenge you to either find a child, young, baby, any age, and ask them an open-ended question, and then count in your head to 6 and see what happens, what kind of response you get from the child. And now that 6 seconds is quite a long time when you're an adult and you're scurrying from one place to the other, but count to 6 and stay quiet and see what happens. Now, I've also tested this with adults, and it does the same thing, but it's more fascinating with the little kids, especially the infants. So that's your challenge, and come on in and tell me what experience you've had, and let me know, and we'll have a wonderful conversation about what happened. So until next time, happy reading.